God is the great economist. Nothing is ever wasted. So let's look at this picture from what might be God's perspective. God's created souls, each individual with a personality and particular gifts and traits that are just uniquely their own qualities. And God loves each of these precious souls so much. Now, why I bring that up is think about it. Imagine the person or the people that you just love the most. Now, imagine them when they cross over or when their mortal bodies die, that they come back and they're someone else completely. Certainly, they're going to have a different experience because they're coming into a completely new sphere of influence in terms of the family and maybe the socioeconomic structure or the culture and so on and so forth. And you can imagine that that person might change dramatically, even if their souls were the same on the inside, with such a completely fresh slate. So, for example, you're a female in one life, you're a male in another life, or maybe you're gender neutral or whatever. You're going to change dramatically if that swaps. Now, the soul has no gender and has no sex, but still, everything that we experience makes up who we become. So here you've had this beloved, and now they're out of your life because they've dropped their mortal body, and they're going to have a whole different life with a whole other set of people and souls and a whole other set of experiences that you may or may not be part of. It's really like a loss of that person, which would be hard. I know certainly I wouldn't want to lose my children like that or other loved ones. So that's one reason why reincarnation would be kind of have a negative impact. There's just no need for it. And that's what I meant when I said God is the great economist. While it's true that our souls are fresh and new when we first incarnate, and we must develop, and that can take a long time, it doesn't need to happen here on earth. You get your start here on earth, and then you, the very self-same you, get to continue to progress on the other side for as long as it takes for you personally to reach your chosen path, be it the divine love path or the natural love path. And you'll know from other videos that even if you choose the natural love path, you're going to end up in a paradise beyond our wildest dreams. But you get to keep that original personality and experiences. You just get to build on them. Let's imagine that we only have one life. We might experience a lot of different feelings about that. If we love this life or we love ourselves and we're happy with ourselves, we might say, well, I got lucky. And certainly I would agree. I certainly feel I got lucky. But what if we don't love ourselves, we don't love our lives, and we don't love our circumstances? We might be angry. We might feel that's very unfair. But if truth is truth, and it is, it's not relative, it's better to know than not know. And if you were only to have one life here on earth, and you knew that for sure, you might make different choices than if you thought you could just come back and have a redo. The truth is, God created earth to be a playground for every soul. because God also gave us the gift of free will, which was a requirement because there's no other way for God to have us actually be genuine offspring, potentially divine, or at least we're born with that potential. He can't force us to do anything. We have to choose. There are lots of people on planet Earth, and there have been since the beginning, who are choosing out of harmony with God's love and God's laws and God's will. And as we've covered before, this means that there's a real hodgepodge of experiences here on the earth plane. Each soul creates their own experience to a greater degree than we are aware by the choices we make in every thought, word, and deed. And God's laws are all set up to help us move in the right direction. When we make healthy, happy, loving choices, we experience a bountiful, life-sustaining, and evolutionary outcome. And when we choose out of harmony with God's love, we experience outcomes that are painful, frustrating, and stagnating, among other things. Here on earth, the wheat and the tares are permitted to experience together the outcome of our choices. We're all intermingled, and the sun shines on the good and the evil choices equally here so that we can learn and grow. It's like Earth gives our soul training wheels, but you don't get training wheels a second time. If you don't experience the consequences of your choices here, you will when you cross into the world of spirit. So here, it's just like I said, training wheels. And what that means is the consequences of some of our biggest choices, especially the negative ones, are somewhat softened. And quite honestly, even the consequences and the fruits of our best choices are somewhat subdued as well. We're not experiencing the full value of those either. Here, it's kind of a safe space for us to test. You can do anything you want. So here on the earth plane, you are free to explore and make whatever choices you want. And in fact, your ability to explore and make choices is not taken away on the other side either. It's just that your environment will be drastically different in which to do so. And with the extreme evil removed from our sphere of influence at that point, it's actually easier for the average soul to begin progressing because they don't have to worry about food, clothing, shelter, physical health, any of that. Takes off a huge burden, so you don't have to work for a living. And there's every good and wonderful thing on the other side for you to experience that we have here on earth, only better. So, universities and all opportunities to experience art and music and beauty and many, many wonderful things. So you've got plenty of time. You have all the time you need to continue to develop in a beautiful environment that's perfectly suited to your soul condition. And as your soul condition improves, your environment improves, all the way from the lowest hells on up to realms we can't even begin to imagine and for which we have no language to express. So if that was available on the other side, and it is, then we know, God being the great economist, it would be a tremendous waste of resources to send anyone back again. Think about the history of humanity on planet Earth. Virtually nothing has changed. Now, though we've experienced a lot of cultural shifts since the Industrial Revolution, that's really just about a lot of gadgets and tinker toys that we've come up with to help us lead more physically comfortable lives. and be more interconnected with each other and have more mobility around the globe. But in terms of the actual human experience at the soul level, there's really nothing new under the sun. People are still loving, they're still marrying, they're still having children, they're still celebrating, they're still dancing and singing and creating music and having feasts, they're still sharing stories, and sadly they're still raping, murdering, pillaging, starving, hurting one another, lying, cheating, stealing, and the list goes on and on. And if you think about it, when we're really only talking about choosing love or choosing the lack of love in any given moment, in any given choice, there really is no reason to incarnate more than once. You can learn that here in one shot and continue to develop what you have learned for as long as it takes. Why would you have to come back here to progress?